So I wanted to share my experience of my Primo water dispenser. I don't normally make these videos, but I found that the video I saw on YouTube actually was helpful, although I changed a few things in order to fix my situation. If you're here, it's because your machine, the cold water button, does not work. If you look into it, you'll probably find that inside the reservoir there's an ice block, and it's kind of jamming the plumbing of the cold water. This is the second machine I've had from Primo. The first one was a self-cleaning unit, so a bit nicer than the one that's here right now. And when that thing froze, the whole reservoir was like a giant ice tank. It's worse than what happened with this situation. And when I called Primo to see if they can fix it, they said there's nothing they can do except offer me a discount on a replacement unit. However, they couldn't offer me the same exact unit because they don't have one in stock, or they no longer make the self-cleaning. I don't know what the situation was. So I was gonna have to spend money to buy a new unit and one that wasn't as good. I wasn't technically or technologically or whatever savvy, or didn't think I was. I saw something about replacing a sensor inside, and I'm like, I've never done that before. I'm just gonna get the unit, whatever. And decided to pitch the self-cleaning broken, what I consider was broken, maybe non-salvageable after talking to them, pitched it outside for somebody to score, essentially. And now I have this replacement unit. Maybe 2 years into it, maybe less, I feel it froze again because of that stupid sensor. And now I know better to not call them, because they're going to give me the same spiel about giving me a discount for a new unit. So instead, I'm going to show you how a $2 part can fix everything. And if you want to compare apples to apples, this is the model that I was able to fix. It seems like there's some slight variations where the insides are pretty much the same. So you'll need to unscrew the back. There's 2 screws here. My replacement unit, my brand new replacement unit, didn't even come with the screws. And it's a little difficult to pry or yank or pull. I got lucky. I might have conditioned it to get used to coming off. It's going to be attached to the power buttons, and you'll see the little clip there. I would not let this hang to the side. I would just unclip that, and obviously make sure that the unit is unplugged. Okay, so if you open this, and you would just kind of use like a screwdriver to pry open these little clips, and eventually these will pop off. You should be able to see inside there, maybe at the bottom level where the cold water is, where it's an ice block. And you'll see that the cold water plumbing goes into the bottom there. And so the tube that's inside the water, that's what's frozen solid. So when it's frozen solid, water can't go through it. What the problem seems to be is, if you find the little black cable, it goes into the styrofoam at the very near the bottom, and then that plugs into the blue clip back there. So in the previous video, the one I learned from as far as what to replace and how to do it, and even from probably an article online, it says that they cut the styrofoam and then taped it back up. I didn't feel comfortable about cutting it. So if you see, there's a little divide. There's like a little split. There's 2 of them. So it's like 2 halves that get squished together and then taped around. So I figured, well, what if I cut the tape on both sides and just try to pry it away? It kind of does it. It doesn't, come completely off without completely disassembling everything, but it gives you enough clearance to get into there. Now, to get myself a little more clearance, I did have to take this panel off. It's just plastic. 4 screws, and you kind of have to loosen that screw and that screw, and they have rubber bushings behind it that keep the, I don't know, the grate from touching. You don't have to fully unscrew these, just enough to slide this panel up. It's just little notches. And then you can unscrew, there's 2 screws that hold this thing in, and then you just kind of pull it away so you get a little more clearance in there. And once you get into there, you'll see that there's like a gray foamy sheet, like maybe 2 inches. It's a sheet that's taped to the inner wall, the metal wall inside the styrofoam. And that's where that cable is going into. And that's where you'll find the sensor. And it'll look something like this. And it's covered in like thermal paste or something. Now, I got the replacement unit, and I forgot to get thermal paste. But there was so much on there that I kind of just spread the goo all over the new sensor, because I don't know what would happen if it didn't have thermal paste. So I used it. And okay, guys, this is probably a little gross, but I couldn't figure out why it felt so off for me now. Like, so I'm a woman, so I have my monthly cycles, and it felt like literally pulling out a tampon and then putting a new one in, because I couldn't see underneath the gray foam flap. And you really have to get your fingers under there, and you really kind of have to find the hole when you're putting the new one in. But if you're gentle, you'll find it, and it just slides out, a new one slides back in, and then you can start to put the foam back together, or the styrofoam back together, and tape everything up. The next thing you would have to do is, if you get the replacement cable, you'll notice that it has this kind of end. Now, these little ridges here, they don't fit into the blue socket on that board there. So what I did was take the 2 little prongs that are inside the replacement one and the one from the blue unit. When you unplug it from the board, you'll have a blue version of this. So I took something small and tiny to poke these out of the socket, pulled the wires out, and put them into the blue one. Because some guys, they don't want to get back there. It's not that difficult. You just need the right one of those. I didn't like the idea of cutting wire and splicing it together and taping it or soldering. I don't trust myself with that. I feel like I never do the right job, and I'm going to have shortages. So I wanted to do it right, and pulled the cables out and put them in so that you could just plug it back in. And then you can start buttoning everything up, plugging everything back in. And I made sure that everything was working before doing this video. It's been a couple nights that I've been running this machine. No frozen ice, no clogged or broken cold buttons. So it tells me that it's working. I'm getting cold water. Previously, when it was broken, it would freeze overnight. So I think we're good. It's a $2 part. You can get them from Amazon. They come in a pack of 5, so you have to pay $10. But that's it. Really, if I didn't have to troubleshoot with a couple things, like finding out that this didn't match the same shape and clip of that blue thing, and I actually ended up having to pull that board up so I can see what was going on. That was awful. You don't have to do that, though. If I had known that you just need to replace that thing, it probably would have taken me 10-15 minutes, honestly. It's not that bad. So stupid when they try to sell you another $100+ machine for a $2 part. Anyways, I hope that's helpful. And now it works.